I found the shredded pieces of my own will in my daughter's bathroom bin while I was still alive to see it. The edges were still sharp when I pulled them out, careful not to cut myself on my own forgotten legacy. I remember how my hands trembled as I held those strips of legal paper, trying to piece together the words I'd written just 6 months earlier. My reading glasses were fogged from the steam of Rebecca's shower, and I had to wipe them twice before the truth became clear. There, in looping blue ink, was my signature. And there, methodically destroyed, was everything I'd planned to leave behind. I wasn't supposed to be in that bathroom. Hell, I wasn't supposed to be in that house at all. The morning had started like any other Tuesday, my 72nd birthday, though no one had mentioned it. I'd driven myself to Rebecca's place in my old Toyota, the one Marcus used to say would outlive us both before the cancer took him 3 years ago. She'd called the night before, voice tight with that particular brand of cheerfulness that always meant she needed something. Could I watch the kids while she ran errands? Of course I could. I always could. Her house still smelled like the vanilla candles I'd given her last Christmas. The children, Emma and Joshua, barely looked up from their tablets when I arrived. Rebecca kissed my cheek with lips that didn't quite touch skin, and was gone before I could ask when she'd be back. 3 hours later, Joshua spilled juice all over himself. That's when I needed the bathroom upstairs. That's when I saw the bin. That's when everything I thought I knew began to unravel. The will had been specific. The house in Portland would be split between Rebecca and her brother David. My savings would create college funds for the grandchildren. Everything fair. Everything accounted for. But someone had decided fairness wasn't enough. I heard the garage door open downstairs. Rebecca was home, and I was standing in her bathroom holding evidence of something I couldn't yet name. The thing about betrayal is that your brain fights it at first. Offers innocent explanations. Maybe it was a draft. Maybe this was all a terrible misunderstanding. I wanted so badly to believe in maybe. But I'd learned soon enough that some betrayals are too calculated for maybes, and some daughters are strangers wearing familiar faces. I folded the pieces carefully, slipped them into my cardigan pocket, and went downstairs. Rebecca was unpacking groceries with the efficiency of someone who'd rather be anywhere else. She smiled when she saw me. That smile I'd watched develop from her first tooth to now, 47 years of smiles that I'd thought I understood. "Thanks for watching them, Mom," she said, not meeting my eyes. I didn't ask about the will. Not then. Instead, I drove home and spent 4 hours taping those pieces back together on my dining room table. Enough to confirm it was the original. Enough to see my signature, witnessed and notarized. Someone had stolen it. Someone had decided my voice didn't matter. I called David that night. My son, living in Seattle with his husband and their daughter. Asked if he still had his copy of the will. The line went quiet. "What will?" he finally said. My blood went cold. I'd sent them both certified letters 6 months ago. Signature required. But Rebecca had signed for David's copy too. They'd both been mailed to her address because David had been moving and Rebecca had offered to forward his mail. Such a helpful daughter. I'd handed her the keys to my entire estate, and she'd locked me out of my own legacy. "David," I said carefully, "I need you to come home this weekend. Don't tell Rebecca. Just come home." He arrived Saturday morning looking older than his 45 years. "The question is why," I said. "The will splits everything evenly. What does she gain?" David's face did something complicated. He sat down heavily and put his head in his hands. "David, there's something I need to tell you. Something Rebecca doesn't know I know." And that's when I learned my daughter's betrayal had layers I hadn't begun to excavate, and the will was just the visible tip of something much darker. He told me about the conversation he'd overheard at Thanksgiving. Rebecca on the phone in the garage, voice low but not quiet enough. Talking about the house. My house. About property taxes and market value, and the phrase that made his blood run cold. "Once she's gone, we can finally cash out." Not if. When. I thought maybe I'd misunderstood, David said. But this. He gestured at the will. This is something else. My daughter was waiting for me to die so she could sell my home. The home I was still living in. "There's more," David said quietly. I found a business card in her car last month. Some real estate investment company. It made terrible sense. Rebecca destroys the will. Without valid documentation, the process would be messier, longer. But if she could produce a different will, one favoring her, she'd have total control. We need to call Morrison, I said. My attorney. Already done, David said. He's got the original in his office safe. Whatever she shredded was just the copy. Relief, followed by new horror. So, she destroyed it for nothing. Unless she doesn't know Morrison kept the original. We sat with that. If Rebecca thought she'd successfully destroyed my will, what came next? I'd spent 72 years loving my daughter, and now I was afraid of what she might do to a mother who'd become an obstacle. But I wasn't ready to believe the worst. So I called Rebecca and asked her to dinner. Just us. I made her favorite meal, chicken piccata. Set the table with good china. If this was going to be a confrontation, I'd make it civilized. She arrived holding grocery store flowers and wearing an expression I couldn't read. We ate in near silence. Finally, over lemon cake, I pulled out the taped-together will and placed it between us. Rebecca went very still. Where did you find that? In your bathroom garbage. The day you asked me to babysit. You went through my trash? Defensive now. That's a violation of privacy. It's my will, Rebecca. She stood up. It was an accident. I was cleaning my office and it got mixed with junk mail. I didn't realize. And David's copy? The one you signed for last spring. Her face went pale. I must have forgotten. Don't lie to me anymore. Please. I'm your mother. But some people are so committed to their deceptions that honesty becomes impossible, even when confession might save what's left of love. She sat back down, finished her wine. When she spoke, her voice was different, flatter, colder. You want honesty? Fine. I'm drowning, Mom. The divorce left me with nothing. I'm 47, working 2 jobs, barely keeping the kids clothed. Do you know what it's like to watch your life fall apart while you're sitting on a gold mine? A gold mine? This house. Do you know what it's worth? What it could mean to someone who actually needs the money? It's my home, Rebecca. It's equity. It's my children's future, and you're just sitting in it. Alone. Each word landed like a slap. The will splits everything evenly. You'd get half anyway. David doesn't need it. He's got money. He can afford to wait. I can't. So you destroyed the will. I made a mistake with the shredder. And the phone call David overheard at Thanksgiving? About cashing out once I'm gone. Shock blinked her face. She hadn't known he'd heard. He tells me everything, Rebecca. That's what children do when they actually care. She grabbed her purse. I'm not going to sit here and be attacked. You sit in a house worth over $1 million refusing to help. That's the real story. She left. And I sat there understanding that in her desperation, I'd become the villain. I thought that was the worst of it, but I hadn't yet discovered what Rebecca was really capable of when cornered. David stayed the weekend. We executed a new will with Morrison, even more explicit. Multiple copies. Rebecca couldn't touch it, but she stopped calling, stopped visiting. The grandchildren's birthdays came without invitations. September came, and with it, my annual checkup. Dr. Palmer called me back 3 days later. The cancer was back. Pancreas. Aggressive. 6 months, maybe a year with treatment. I sat in his office thinking about Rebecca's calculation of my death as her salvation. About the cosmic joke of her not having to wait much longer. I didn't tell her. Only David, who held my hand while I cried. I chose hospice over treatment. Wanted to die in my garden, in my home, with dignity. I thought that would be the end of the story. But in October, things changed. Calls from numbers I didn't recognize asking if I'd consider selling. Letters from real estate companies, increasingly aggressive. A man claiming to be from the county assessor, wanting to look around my house. Then the pharmacist pulled me aside. Your daughter called yesterday trying to pick up your prescription. We wouldn't release it without authorization. She seemed upset. My hands shook. Why would Rebecca want my medication? The next week, my spare house key, the one hidden under the garden gnome that only family knew about, was missing. I changed the locks immediately. Then I came home from shopping to find my back door ajar. I always locked it. Always. The police found nothing missing. Said the lock probably hadn't caught. Said I should be more careful. But I knew I'd locked that door. That's when I understood my daughter wasn't just waiting for me to die. She was considering ways to help the process along. I called David, voice shaking. I think Rebecca's trying to hurt me. I'm coming down, he said.
Tonight.
And we're going to the police. But I couldn't prove anything. Missing keys and open doors weren't evidence of attempted harm. They were coincidences. Bad luck. The paranoia of a sick old woman. Still, David installed cameras. Motion sensors. Made me promise not to eat or drink anything Rebecca might have access to. She's my daughter, I said weakly. She stopped being your daughter when she started seeing you as a payday, he replied. November crept by. The cancer was progressing faster than expected. I was losing weight, energy. Dr. Palmer suggested moving up hospice care. I had maybe 3 months left. And then Rebecca called. First time in months. Mom, I'm so sorry, she said, voice breaking. I've been awful. Can I come see you?
Can we talk?
I need to make this right before. She didn't finish, but we both knew what she meant. Before I died, every instinct screamed not to let her in. But she was my daughter, my firstborn, and I was dying with this chasm between us. Okay, I said. Tomorrow. Lunch. David was furious.
Don't do this.
Don't let her near you. I need to hear what she has to say. I need to try one more time. Because mothers are foolish creatures who offer second chances even when wisdom says to run. Rebecca arrived with tears and apologies. Said she'd been in therapy, working through her financial anxiety and resentment. Said she understood now how wrong she'd been. How she'd let desperation turn her into someone unrecognizable. I don't want your forgiveness, she said. I don't deserve it. I just want you to know I'm sorry. That I love you. That I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better. She looked so sincere. So broken. I wanted to believe her. We ate the lunch I'd prepared. Soup and sandwiches. Simple things I could still stomach. She told me about the kids, about her new job, about the apartment she'd found that was cheaper and closer to their school. She didn't mention the house. Didn't mention money. Just talked like we used to, before everything got poisoned. When she left, she hugged me tight. I love you, Mom. I'm so sorry I forgot that for a while. I watched her drive away and felt something like hope. That night, I got violently ill. Vomiting, cramping, fever. David found me on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m. and called an ambulance. At the hospital, they ran tests. The doctor came in looking grim. Mrs. Anderson, we found elevated levels of antifreeze in your system. The room tilted. What? Ethylene glycol. Someone poisoned you. If your son hadn't found you when he did. He didn't finish. David's face was white with rage. Rebecca. She was here for lunch. The police came, took statements, searched my house, and found the soup container in my fridge, the leftovers from lunch. It tested positive. They arrested Rebecca that evening. My daughter had tried to kill me, had hugged me while knowing what she'd done, had apologized for her greed while actively pursuing the ultimate solution to her financial problems. The trial was brief. The evidence overwhelming. Rebecca's lawyer tried to argue mental breakdown, financial desperation, but the premeditation was clear. The fake reconciliation. The poison in the soup. The cameras David had installed that caught her slipping something from her purse into my kitchen. She got 15 years. I attended the sentencing from a wheelchair, too weak to stand. Our eyes met across the courtroom, and I saw no remorse. Just anger that she'd been caught. That her plan had failed. The judge asked if I wanted to make a statement. I did. I spent 50 years loving you, I said, voice barely above a whisper. Feeding you. Protecting you. Teaching you. And you decided I was worth more dead than alive. That's not desperation, Rebecca. That's evil. And I hope you spend every day of the next 15 years understanding what you destroyed. She was led away. I never saw her again. I died 4 months later in my home, in my garden, with David holding one hand and his daughter holding the other. Marcus's roses were blooming. The house smelled like spring. My final will was executed exactly as written. David inherited everything and immediately set up the college funds I'd wanted for the grandchildren. All of them, even Rebecca's kids. They didn't deserve to suffer for their mother's sins. He kept the house, moved his family into it. Last I heard before I slipped away, Emma and Joshua were visiting on weekends, learning to tend the roses, making memories in rooms where love had lived before greed killed it. And I hope wherever she is, whatever prison cell holds her, Rebecca understands that she didn't just kill her chance at an inheritance. She killed the mother who would have given her everything if she'd only been willing to wait, to love, to remember that some things matter more than money. If you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in my daughter, if you're looking at your aging parents and seeing dollar signs instead of people, let me offer you one piece of advice. Stop. Whatever financial pressure you're under, whatever desperation you feel, your parents are not the solution. There are people who loved you first, who gave you life, who deserve to leave this world with dignity. Don't become the child who trades love for money. Don't become the person who has to live with what Rebecca has to live with. Because I promise you, no inheritance is worth that. If this story spoke to your heart, don't let it fade. Subscribe to The Silent Parents, where every emotion finds a home.